Hi, my name's David Holt from Metcash, and today what we're going to do is go through some of these e-log sheets, namely the thermometer calibration log sheet on the ref system. So if you've got one of these tablets, this is what you should be doing at least on a weekly basis to make sure that the temperature equipment that you are using to take temperatures in your store are accurate. No point these being inaccurate when you go and do your temperature checks of your fridges, your receiving temperatures or anything like that, because if you're not taking accurate temperatures of your product, then you're not making sure that your business is staying safe, or you're selling safe food to your customers. So really important. These are probably one of the most important pieces of equipment in your store. Every single store should have what we call a probe. It's part of the food standards code that you have a probe available in your store, because if you do have any issues with temperatures of product, then the only way that you can verify actual food temperature is by probing that product and making sure that you've got a core temperature of the product. Okay, so every store should have a probe. It might look like this one, or it might even look like a pencil probe. You might have heard that term before, or a pen probe. But so long as you have something that you can probe a food type with, that's something that's required in your store. There are 3 different types of checks that you can do depending on the equipment that you've got in your store. When you go through and you choose your thermometer calibration checklist, your e-log sheet, then the first thing it's going to ask is for your name. Type your name in. If it's not in there, choose other, and you'll be able to type your name in there. Once you've done that, you need to choose what test type it is that you're doing. So what if you do have some other equipment? Well, that's simple. What you want to do is when you go through the log sheet, there's 2 other checks that you can do. When it comes up with a test type, you can choose temperature probe, comparator and IR gun, or you can choose full temperature kit. With the first check that I showed you with the temperature probe only, there is no way with the equipment that you would have, which is only a probe and maybe an IR thermometer, there is no way that you can check the accuracy of your IR thermometer against your probe, because you can't do that when you don't have what's called a comparator pot. So this here is called your comparator pot. It's just a simple stainless steel container. It's got a number of holes in the bottom of it. Those holes is where you stick your probe, and when your probe goes in there, it's measuring the temperature inside this comparator. It's with this piece of equipment that you can test the accuracy of your IR guns against your probe. So everything that you do when you're doing your thermometer calibration checks, the most important thing is to first of all make sure that your digital thermometers are accurate, because that's going to be what you use to check your IR thermometers, infrared thermometers. So we're going to go through and we're going to do that now. Again, with this check, we've got our ice water, which we've already pre-prepared. We've chosen that we're going to do our temperature probe comparator IR temperature gun, because we want to check the accuracy of this gun, and we've established that the only way we can do that is if we use a comparator pot. So we've chosen that. What we want to do is we want to use the ice water again. We want to make sure our digital thermometer is turned on. I'm going to leave that there. We're just going to circulate that water, and we're going to wait for this to hopefully come back below 1 degree, remembering that that needs to be within plus or minus 1 degree of 0. And we can see that we're still sitting at 0.4 degrees. Once we know that, we've tested the accuracy there, you put in your system 0.4 degrees. Again, if you're doing a boiling water test, you would need to do that test again. You would need to boil your water, make sure that it's within plus or minus 100 degrees with your probe while it's on the boil. And then what we do, we want to make sure that our IR gun is accurate to plus or minus 1 degree of our probe. It's the only way you can do your calibration reading with your gun. So what we do is we use our comparator pot. Let's move that out the way for now. We use our comparator pot. We use one of these little holes in the bottom there, and we just let that sit. And what we're doing is we're just waiting for this digital reading just to regulate, stop moving, to make sure that when we do our infrared check, that this isn't still moving. All right, we want to make sure that we get the most accurate reading. So we just wait for that to regulate. Usually it takes between 1 or 2 minutes. And it's just come back down a little bit. So it's gone to 17.4, 17.3. So I'm fairly comfortable now that that has regulated to a point where I can use the gun. And I want to point this infrared gun into the center of this cylinder. And the reading on this gun needs to be within plus or minus 1 degree of the digital thermometer. So we can see it's sitting at 18.3. The digital thermometer is at 17.8. So that's plus or minus 1 degree. So we're satisfied now that this IR, this infrared gun, is accurate. This is the only way to check the accuracy of this gun. Again, with the E-log sheet, if you're using the E-log sheet and this temperature when you take it is outside of plus or minus 1 degree of the digital thermometer, then it's going to come up with corrective action. It's going to say you've got a problem. Don't just move on without doing something, because it might be as simple as changing the battery. But if the battery doesn't fix it, a new battery, then your only option is to go and buy a new gun, because it means it's inaccurate and you shouldn't be using it to be doing your temperature checks through the store.